Majo John Madden from Ciudad Victoria, Tamaulipas State in Mexico. I'm looking at this beautiful wrought iron gate into somebody's beautiful property back there. Rich and poor live right next to each other in Victoria here, as they have all through South Texas. Astonishing how affluent neighborhoods butt right up against very poor neighborhoods. Texas, so many people suffering economically in a state that has more billionaires than any other state in the country. And the gap between rich and poor, I think, is equally bad. I think statistically the U.S. is the worst in the world right now. I think I heard that. Don't quote me. And my dog is somewhere down there, Magic, fabulous, independent Basenji hunting dog. Very smart about trucks. He either has gone where that car just went, down into the parking lot for the big shopping mall where we were busted down for 2 days. He may have gone there to see if our truck is still there, but it's in the shop right now. He'll take care of himself, and at some point, or if you go far enough down, back where that big bus just went left, there's a lovely park down there. He may be there already, but he sure knows where I am, and he'll find his way back to me. We've been going down an alley, fabulous broad alley, that early in our days here, because we've been here about 3 weeks now, this was our turf when we were in that parking lot. And we know this alley really well. A lot of stories about this alley. And so what was I going to say? I guess I'm just making random Sunday comments about life in Mexico. Or maybe maybe I just wanted to, oh yeah, the thing I was going to say about the wrought iron gate over here. I just made 2 videos about my life as a mechanic, which is extraordinarily ironic because there was none. I had no life as a mechanic until 3 years ago, traveling in Appalachia with a very old van when I had to get hands-on. Didn't have money for a lot of mechanic stuff. So our wonderful mechanic Joshua showed me a couple of things, but he brought out this piece of metal with a bunch of stuff cut out in it, and I thought he was going to say, this is actually a very beautiful piece of Mexican wrought iron sculpture, and if you go to Wikipedia you can find the artist because it's really good stuff. No, it was something he had pulled out of the engine, and I don't even know what part it was, but it was something from the engine. So I'm obviously over my head. I'm a babe in the woods in Mexico and a babe in the woods with cars. I'm really grateful to have fallen into the hands of a terrific mechanic, Joshua, who right now I can't get any money to him because PayPal isn't working. His wife set up a PayPal account for them on the spot so I could send them money because my PayPal card is not working down here, and I still, after 3 weeks, don't have any pesos and can't pay for things because the PayPal card doesn't work and I don't have pesos. And my language is so poor. In the U.S., we would talk about immigrants having broken English, that Spanish people have broken English. Well, I have broken Spanish, okay? And I'm also a wetback. I am a wetback because my first 2 illegal crossings into Mexico were at the Boca Chica beach, straight about 30 miles east of Brownsville, Texas. That butts, if you go right at that beach instead of left, which everybody else does, you get right up to the Rio Grande River where it dumps into the Gulf of Mexico. And I twice swam across it to go visit the lovely Mexican people partying on the Baghdad beach. The Baghdad beach is their beach on the other side, which had an incredible sandbar where Mexican fishermen would walk out on that sandbar far out into what, unless the ocean just doesn't count as anybody's territory, would have been Texas. But the Mexicans who partied at Baghdad beach were not used to Americans swimming. There's my dog. We're not used to Americans swimming across the Rio Grande to get to Mexico. And at that point, amazingly, there were no border crossing agents. Here he comes. I knew he'd come back. Magic! Come here, babe. Good dog. I never yell at him for being gone. I always throw a party for him when he comes back, so he's happy to come back. Hi, babe. Did you have fun? Did you have an adventure? Probably had several adventures by now. Yeah. So I walked up to a bunch of men hanging by themselves, and using my little bit of Spanish, I said to them with my tongue way in my cheek, I said, "Necesito una pasaporte?" Like, do I need a passport? Which they got the humor of that. But I do understand that if you go just a few hundred yards up the Rio Grande, which is a big river at that point where it dumps into the Gulf of Mexico, there are boats patrolling and big towers watching for people to cross. And if you try to drive back into Brownsville, just past the SpaceX facility, because you can't get back to Brownsville without going by Elon Musk's SpaceX launch pad there. And within a couple hundred yards of 3 big rockets sitting, you can't get close to them, but there's no fences or anything. There's just guys who will intercept you. So that was an adventure. Yeah, so my first 2 crossings to Mexico were illegal, and my last crossing, my Make It Stick crossing, was also illegal. You have to really, I've learned so much even in Appalachia that when somebody gives you instructions, 2 parts of it are right and 1 is wrong. Where they say, and then just you go a little ways down the road and they're saying it's really 20 miles. Well, what people tell you about getting across the border is like that, and even the websites. The U.S. website will say one thing about what you need. The Mexican website, or what they told us at the Mexican consulate in Brownsville, is different stuff. The one thing that turned out to be true is that you need current license plates. And I don't, and I can't get current license plates on my van without going back to North Carolina and squaring up a couple of moving violations, which when I had been traveling for a year and the summonses never caught up with me. So by the time I got a call from a sheriff in Buncombe County, Asheville, North Carolina, saying, your license has been suspended and there's a warrant for your arrest for not showing up for court. I explained that I was in Kentucky and wasn't about to come back to North Carolina at that point. So the issue has been how to get across the border, and I studied and walked across several different borders. The big Gateway Bridge crossing in Matamoros, where Americans were recently kidnapped and a couple of them murdered. A week before that event, I had been stalled in traffic on that bridge trying to get across. I was just testing all the border crossings to see, because the big commercial crossing south of McAllen into Reynosa, big city in Mexico, I had gotten across because they were just too busy. The agent never looked at my tags. So that was exciting, and I kept testing. I tested 3 other border crossings and kept getting turned back. But finally, on March 13th, Monday, I went to the Progreso, is the Texas side, Nuevo Progreso on the Mexican side, which is the Welcome to Mexico crossing, 30 miles west of Brownsville / Matamoros metropolitan area. And it's all about the good times. Cheap dentistry, cheap pedicures, cheap cantinas, etc. And they're awfully gracious about letting people across. But I got stopped. The guy said, no, your tags are expired. You can't cross into Mexico. And I've learned that in that kind of situation, sometimes the best strategy is wait it out. Just don't argue. Give them a chance to change their mind. And he sure did. He said, well, what are you doing over there? I just want to go look around for a couple hours. I'm planning to live there the rest of my life. No, I didn't say that. A couple hours and then you're going back to Weslaco? Yeah, we're staying in Weslaco. Oh, well, go. A couple hours, go. Have fun. Welcome to Mexico. Just come back in 2 hours and don't cross again until you get your tags fixed. Thank you, officer. I appreciate that. I'll have a nice afternoon in Mexico. Bye.